Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, day 3, officially here, at least for me. Not going to be able to do a whole lot of thoughts and feelings and whatnot, because presumably we have a lot of picks to get through today. I just saw the first one, and so we'll go over that. I think day 1... overall, Packer fans extremely excited. Day 2, I think Packer fans overwhelmingly pretty upset. They wanted all defense, and it was offense and then a second wide receiver. Day 3 is off to a better start. I'm sure they'll do something crazy like draft a running back, quarterback, something like they tend to do. But so far, starting off with an edge rusher. In fact, I asked on social media, who do you want them to take? Swinson was the most popular option, but I did see, of the only handful of thoughts, one of them was Baron Sorrell, and that is who the Green Bay Packers took. So the Packers got an edge rusher, big dude, prototypical defensive end. I was kind of upset because I pulled up my son's list of his grades and whatnot, because I use that one as well, and he is smack dab in the middle. Out of the 25 prospects that I graded at edge, he's right at 6.75, which is actually pretty decent. It's ahead of Landon Jackson, Braden Swinson, Tuamalau, Sawyer. So I did like him, but he's also one of only 3 guys I didn't put any notes down, so I don't freaking know why I liked him, because I remember I really liked Ashton Gelati, and he is just one spot ahead of him. So, but we can dig back into that again. We got to kind of fly a little bit here today. I got SIS up. Unfortunately, SIS has been hating our prospects quite a bit, so I'm going to stay away from that. I think probably their least favorite pick, if I had to guess, of the entire draft is going to be our second round pick, because they absolutely, statistically, freaking hated that guy. But anyways, Baron Sorrell, defensive end for the Texas Longhorns, 72 overall grade, 73 run defense, 75 pass rush. One of the positives that I did see on SIS about Baron Sorrell was, if you head over here to point of attack, forced bounce rate. So in other words, when a running back is running at you, how often do you force him to be like, nope, there's nothing there, and then have to bounce to a different hole? He was the 4th highest on that at 35%. So presumably, and he's not bad at any. He's pretty much right in the middle of the pack in everything, but presumably he's a pretty well-rounded pass rush and run defender. The production is actually quite good. Not only does he have, 49 pressures on 362 attempts, which is 13.5%, call it 14%, we'll round up, but he had 9 sacks the last season. So for a big dude at a big program who seems to do pretty well in run defense, also, the tackling actually grade overall is bad, but that's 4 games where he graded out poorly, but also has pass rush production and a decent pass rush grade. You also see growth. Over 4 years, his run defense went from 52 to 68 to 71 to 73. His pass rush went from 57 to 58 to 69 to 75. So you're seeing again, I mean, it really checks all the boxes. There's really nothing to dislike about the guy. Good, real good size. Run defense is there. Pass rush is there. The growth is there. If we head over to the athletic guide here, Baron Sorrell, he has listed as the 18th pass rusher on the list here as a 3rd or 4th round grade. So it sounds bad when you say 18th, but a pretty good value. He's saying potentially even a 3rd round pick. Has him listed at via the Combine, Pro Day, whatever. 6'3", 256 pounds. Ran a 4.68, a 1.65 10-yard split. He is 22.3 years old, so the age is not a problem whatsoever. Digging in a little bit, again, with the Texas. We got a lot of Texas stuff going on here. He's from New Orleans, though. All right. 3-year starter at Texas. Sorrell lined up primarily on the edge, 5-6 technique, and defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski's front. A dependable player over his 40 starts in Austin, he's shown gradual improvement each season and didn't receive enough credit in 2024 for his impact on Texas's third-ranked defense. Again, big program, all that. As a pass rusher, Sorrell flashes bully hands and an aggressive snatch attack, which becomes his signature move, locking out and pulling the balance of blockers away from them. He led Texas with 49 pressures in 2024, despite finishing fourth on the team in sacks. He is relentless in the run game, but he will lose contain against cutback runs and needs to play with better gear down to eliminate missed tackles in pursuit. So he's kind of an over-pursuit, a little bit overly aggressive, which I'm sure is like Joe Barry would hate him. Jeff Hafley probably appreciates that, you know? You got the whole, like, slow down so you don't mess up compared to the screw it, go get him. Overall, Sorrell passes the eye test, and the foundation of his game is power, which sets up different ways for him to win, although his average short area athleticism might limit the frequency of those wins against NFL blockers. His makeup and motor will give him a chance to carve out a role in a 4-3 scheme. Go figure. Sports well-developed, NFL-ready frame with massive shoulders. One NFL scout said, "I wouldn't own any shirts with sleeves if I looked like that dude." Work in the weight room put him on the freaks list. 425-pound bench press, 575 squat, 355 power clean. Posted the fastest miles per hour in the hoop drill at the combine. So that's stuff that I want to dig into later, but that's pretty cool. So again, when you look at it, he's like, the speed is this. Yeah, but that's the freaking 40-yard dash. You start looking at things like the hoop drill, now you're talking about speed as you turn a corner, right? So to be able to have the fastest miles per hour as you're doing that is impressive. He may be a pretty impressive size, speed, bend guy. Physical aggressive hands, maintains extension at contact, works in a variety of swipe rip moves, keeps hands tight to hold the ground, quick thinking player to sniff out screens, plays hard, motor doesn't run out of gas, high football character, viewed as a key leader in Texas's locker room, team captain for 8 games in 2024. Again, sticking with that theme, big deal for the Packers this year. I've been saying, the Packers have always been this way, but I have a feeling they're going to lean pretty heavily into guys that don't have character issues and are high character guys, and also are generally pretty healthy. We'll see if they list anything as far as injuries, but so far that's been the thing. They're all very high character. And again, they at the very least have avoided guys with injury questions. Oh, here we go. Durable. Didn't miss a game the past 3 seasons, finishing with 30 straight starts. So I think that's going to continue. Maybe they start getting a little bit aggressive in the later rounds of screw it, but they have been getting bit real hard with the injury, and also there have been a couple character questionable things. I think largely from free agents like Za'Darius, but they're working real hard. They brought in some real good high character guys like Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs, and they want to keep that going. Average burst and speed off the line. These are some of the weaknesses. Long-legged, doesn't have a deep toolbox, always plays at 100 miles per hour, which backfires at times. Again, that does need to be reined in to some point, but I have a feeling Hafley looked at that and said, yeah, I appreciate the heck out of that. You'd rather have to slow a guy down than speed him up. I don't know if that's a saying that I stole or made up, but that's 100% the reality. Career high in missed tackles in 2024, which affected games. See the 2024 SEC Championship versus Georgia. Quick to crash down versus the run, abandoning his run fit and creating bounce opportunities. We're still talking about that 100% thing. Functional athlete as a drop defender, but too many wasted steps in coverage. Obviously, I don't give a crap about that. Baron Sorrell, which is how you say his name, was born and raised in New Orleans' East neighborhood with his parents. He started playing football at age 5. Different offensive skill positions, including running back. Sorrell said, as soon as I was allowed to sign up, I hopped in there. He also grew up playing baseball, basketball, and track. He went to Holy Cross High, a Catholic school in New Orleans. Was a 4-year letterman on varsity. Transitioned to defensive end as a junior. He finished with a bunch of stats. He led Holy Cross to Division I state playoffs. Senior season was COVID. Earned second-team All-State, first-team All-District honors in his final season. Sorrell also earned academic All-State honors and graduated from Holy Cross with a 4.6 GPA. Wowzers. 3-star recruit, Sorrell was 86th ranked defensive lineman in the 21 recruiting class, number 21 recruit in Louisiana. After moving to defensive line as a junior, his recruitment started to take off with offers from Kansas, Memphis, and Tulane. He received an offer from Northwestern April 20, committed a month later because of the academic and athletic prestige. However, As his recruitment continued to pick up through his senior season, Sorrell decommitted from Northwestern. He announced a final 6 of Arizona State, Louisville, Northwestern, Texas, Vanderbilt, and Virginia, and selected the Longhorns. 2 weeks after Sorrell signed, Texas fired Tom Herman and replaced him with Steve Sarkisian. Sorrell stayed committed to the program and was the 19th recruit in Sarkisian's first class. He had LASIK surgery during the 24 offseason. Sorrell twice earned academic All-Big 12 honors and graduated with a degree. He accepted his invitation to the Senior Bowl and was voted the American team's top defensive lineman during the week of practice. So, big Senior Bowl there. He was honorable mention All-Big 12 and led the team in sacks in 2022 and was honorable mention All-Big 12 in 2023. Also from his Pro Day notes, it says, did not run new tests, relied on combine numbers, participated in position drills, ran drills from both three-point stance and standing position, looked very athletic as well as smooth. He's projected as a day 2 pick, drawing interest from teams with various defensive fronts. So I will check back in after our next pick. All right, so the Green Bay Packers go, I think, kind of a weird situation. I think they go back-to-back pass rushers here. Green Bay Packers selected edge rusher Sorrell Oliver. Very unique for a couple different reasons. First of all, consensus 208, so, certainly could call it a reach, but not a terrible one. But despite that, kind of a question mark. So he is, well, let me get the officials here. 6'2", 240 pounds. He is 22 years old. Runs a 4.56, 1.57 10-yard split. He is, when they announced the pick, they said defensive end. Then on the television, it said linebacker, and it said 240 pounds. And I said, oh, he must be for sure a linebacker. And everybody assumed, yeah, he'll probably be your strong side linebacker and all that stuff. So I thought, okay, that makes sense. And then I went over to PFF, and it says he's an edge rusher, outside linebacker. Has a 91 pass rush grade, although he didn't really play very much because he was hurt last year, which also makes it very weird. 2024 tape wasn't really there. 2023 tape, that's when he was primarily a starter, had a 73 grade, 59 run defense, 47 tackling, 81 pass rush, and 77 coverage. And you're thinking, the guy can't stop the run, but he can rush the passer and maybe has some coverage ability. Kind of odd. But I suppose the responsibilities are different for a linebacker than a defensive end, so, you can't read too much into it, I guess. By the way, phenomenal pass rusher. 41 pressures on 283 attempts. This past year, he played in 2 games, 14 pressures on 46 attempts and 2 sacks. Just ridiculous what the guy has done over really the course of his career. 134 pressures on 824 attempts, which is a 16% pressure rate in his 4-year career with 23 sacks. But again, supposedly he's a linebacker. Well, Milt Hendrickson gets in front of the podium, and he does the thing that the Packers always do and go, well, we'll see, we'll get him in, and we'll do all that stuff. But he did come out and give a little bit more than they usually do, and essentially said, if I had to pigeonhole him into a position right now, it's designated pass rusher, meaning he's the type of guy that you put in on a third day. You don't want him out there in running situations, but if it's a 3rd and 14, 15, whatever, 3rd and 10, you put him out there on the edge and you let him go get the quarterback. And I thought it was really interesting because that's really not the type of thing that the Packers like to do. Now, they still consider him versatile, maybe in a different kind of a way. So he does fit the versatile role, even though if it's not in a traditional, edge rusher versatility type of role or in a way that they typically do. Matthew Golden, it's announced, will wear 22, not 81. Oh, good. Yay. 81 was not flattering. I don't know if 22 is great, but it's better than 81 in my opinion. But anyways, sounds like he's going to be a piece that can be moved around. You can put him at inside linebacker, and they did say that they would essentially start him as a pass rusher, and then similar to like Travis Hunter, where it's like, okay, let's see if you can start learning the defense along with the offense or whatever. We'll start maybe working you into some of the linebacker meetings and all that kind of stuff. But as of right now, it sounds like he will be a pass rusher, and I'm kind of excited about it. These are the kinds of things that I wish the Packers did more of, but I understand why they don't. You know, I like the big 340-pound nose tackles. It's probably stupid. I get all that. It's probably a bad. I like specialists. I like the smaller speed bend pass rushers. Like, yeah, they're going to get blown up on the edge. They can't set the edge and stop the run and all that stuff. It's not necessary, but man, you can just get after it. And kudos to the Packers for adjusting. You know, Milt Hendrickson, and we've heard Gutekunst talk about it quite a bit. The rapid evolution of the game, and talked about, you know, the quarterbacks get the ball out quick, and I've been talking about that a lot in terms of, you know, time makes a big difference. And with the ball getting out of everybody's hands so quickly, you know, the big guys like Rashawn Gary are great, and they're going to get there eventually, and they're collapse the pocket guys and all that. That's awesome. But your ability to actually get to the quarterback is probably not the same as some of these guys. Now, I'm sure he's also one of those guys that occasionally is just going to get stuck, you know. He's going to get blown up. But he also has a rare ability to get to the quarterback real fast and maybe stress some of these guys, these tackles, in ways that, you know, other guys that we typically prefer can't. So, interesting pick. Again, I kind of like it. You know that he's not going to be, you know, a starting type of guy. And that's what happens with this kind of a pick, where you look at it and say he's not going to be your 3-down every day, whatever. So the ceiling is pretty low, but he also has this ability to be a specialist in a very important aspect, which is getting quarterbacks in critical situations. And I think that's pretty cool. And who knows? We'll see. Maybe they'll try him at pass rusher. It's not going to work, and he ends up being great as a linebacker. I don't really know, but that is sort of the situation with that. Getting into a little bit about him, he is listed as a linebacker, the number 18 linebacker and the Beast Draft Guide, 3-year starter at Oklahoma State. Oliver was a hybrid weak side linebacker and former defensive coordinator Brian Nardo's 3-3-5 base scheme, standing up as a wide edge and off-ball backer. A defensive end his first 2 seasons at Stillwater, he moved to linebacker in the spring of 23, although he was at his best when allowed to rush the pocket. He led the team in sacks his first 3 seasons and likely would have again in 2024 were it not for a season-ending foot injury. With his short area burst and high energy, Oliver makes himself a fast, small target for blockers, and he plays with better force than expected for his size. Though it's easy to love his football-playing temperament, his sawed-off body can leave him tied up and overwhelmed, especially in tight quarters. Overall, Oliver is an explosive leverage-based rusher, but he lacks the measurables for full-time edge work and is unproven dropping or playing from depth. He projects best as a nickel rusher with long-term potential as a developmental off-ball linebacker, and that's exactly what they said. He's going to be a immediate nickel rusher, or, you know, third down rusher, and long-term could potentially end up playing some linebacker. Very interesting and unusual, especially for the Green Bay Packers. Strengths: explosive, forces holding calls as pass rushers with gap burst and ability to submarine blocking hands. I don't know what that sentence is. Has some pop, competes with physical mindset, alert eyes, shows basic understanding of blocking schemes. Never lost killer instinct and or revived motor. Has upside in coverage because of his athletic tools. Consistently found ways to be productive. Weaknesses: tweener body type, below average length, lacks ideal sand, and plays strength to set edge. Finds himself narrow at contact, leaves too much production on the field, plays out of control as a tackler, doesn't look as explosive when dropping in space. Played just 80 snaps as a senior because of a right foot injury, which sidelined him for 10 games of his college career. Missed half of his junior season in high school because of a bone contusion in his right knee. Colin Oliver, who has 2 sisters, was born and raised in Oklahoma City with his parents Marshall and Jewel, both athletes. Wasn't there another Jewel? I feel like there was another one that had. Anyways. Both athletes at Southwestern Oklahoma State in the early 90s. His father was a DB on the football team. His mother played basketball. Oliver showed an interest in football from a young age. His father signed him up for Pee Wee at age 6. He started out as a running back and played for the PCO Panthers throughout elementary school. After the family relocated to Edmond, Oklahoma, Oliver played for the Bulldogs and helped the team to an undefeated season with Pop Warner State title. He enrolled at Edmond Santa Fe High. He was a 4-year varsity letterman, played both sides of the ball as a freshman. defensive line and tight end, before deciding to focus on defense as a sophomore linebacker. Missed the second half of the 2019 season because of a bone contusion in his right knee. As a senior, he led Santa Fe to a 10-3 record in the 2020 6A state championship game. He earned All-State honors, was named the Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He was a standout track athlete as a sophomore, was third in the state championships as a high jumper. He lettered his first 3 years, didn't compete as a senior, and had personal bests of 6 foot 2 inches in the high jump, 21-1 in the long jump, 44-11 in the shot put, and 110-8 in the discus. 3-star recruit, Oliver was a 49th ranked linebacker in the 21 recruiting class, number 7 recruit in Oklahoma. After becoming a starter on varsity as a sophomore, he received his first scholarship offer from Oklahoma State. An avalanche of offers followed, including Colorado, Iowa State, Kansas, Nebraska, Texas Tech. After his junior season, Oliver added SEC offers from Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, but he felt most comfortable staying close to home, committed to Oklahoma State. He was a third-ranked recruit in Mike Gundy's 21 class. He earned first-team All-Academic Big 12 honors. That's not an uncommon theme among the Packers picks here. And later graduated with a degree in marketing. Despite missing most of his senior season, Oliver entered the NFL draft. He accepted his invitation to the Senior Bowl. He was freshman All-American, Big 12 Freshman of the Year, second-team All-Big 12 in 2021. He was second-team All-Big 12 and led the team in sacks in 2022. Second-team All-Big 12, led the team in forced fumbles, sacks, and was team captain in 2023. And then was team captain but missed 10 games with a right foot injury in 2024. All right, why don't we take a break? We've got, I believe, 3 more picks pending any kind of trade or whatever. We got the 6th and 2 7th-round picks. Normally the picks that I despise and always want to trade away, but the Packers have been proving me wrong the last couple of years with a starting corner and a starting left tackle out of the 7th round, as well as guys like McDuffie and whatnot. Who've been able to show up in pretty substantial ways. So, pretty excited to see what the Packers come up with. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. With the in the 6th round, Green Bay Packers select defensive tackle Warren Brinson. Just took a couple minutes to watch his game here against Texas, one of his better games. I will say, I think what we knew is you're looking for, I hate to say a Kenny Clark replacement because I don't think that's exactly correct when you're looking at a guy like this in the 6th round, but I guess what we have is a bunch of 3-tech pass rushers, and we need a guy that can play 1-tech, that can occupy some space and occupy a few blockers. And from what I can tell, he can do that. I don't love his ability moving forward, but his ability to not move backwards is really impressive. I mean, that play right there that I just watched was psychotic. His ability to, first of all, the angle that he's at is really impressive. Some guys stand up really tall. He is low with his body straight back like a plank, and he bench, or even at the angle he's at, shoulder presses these offensive linemen straight up. Like every single time, not occasionally, he does a pretty good job with it. It's like he's got one move, and he does it every time. And his ability to, if we're going to use the line, stack and shed or whatever, but, his ability to just bench press guys right in front of him is really, really impressive. I don't think he's an incapable pass rusher. It's not like he's some 330-pound guy that can't move. I just think that, he first of all, he may need some coaching because, again, his one move is a very good run defense move. But, yeah, this Texas offensive line trying to move him is just he does what he wants, and he goes where he wants, and that's just the end of it. He knocks these guys back consistently. He just as a run defender, just really, really impressive. Now, again, I'm picking his 3rd best game of the year. I'm sure there are other games that I can and will later, again, kind of just flying through quick right now, go back and check out. He played Texas a 2nd time. That was his 3rd worst game of the year. And then also South Carolina and Alabama I've got on here. But not surprising at all. I think, obviously the only real surprise here is the lack of corners. Please, Jair, stay. But, they're kind of knocking it off right down the line, Doubled up at wide receiver, a little bit of extra offensive line help, and then 3 defensive linemen in a row on day 3. with the defensive tackle being more of a run defender, which was kind of expected. Looking over at PFF here, 5 years at Georgia, which again, Georgia, pretty standard for Gutekunst. He's got to get his Georgia guy in there. But his snaps have increased every year, 64, 150, 270, 330, and 405. So his opportunities have gone up every year. Year 3 is when he kind of stood out. So year 1 was a 45 grade. Year 2 was a 67 grade. Then it was 72, 79, 74. And the last 2 years, his run defense has really been quite good, 81 and 76. His pass rush actually was good 2 out of the last 3 years. This past year, though, not super phenomenal. I mean, the sack numbers are 6 total over 5 years, which is obviously incredibly low. But from a pressure standpoint, I mean, he's hovering at roughly 10% the last 3 years, because I don't know exactly, but it was a little bit below this past year, but it was also higher the 2 years prior. Plus, the other thing to keep in mind, Georgia used him on the end occasionally, and that's not a great spot for him. I understand they move their pieces around quite a bit, but I mean, that's just going to hurt your production if you're forced to play as a defensive end a ton, because you're just not going to do very well there. But Warren Brinson, 6'5", 315 pounds, 23 years old. Again, another guy that's a little bit up in age. I can't get out of my head the fact that they seem to be viewing the league much more in terms of short-term than long-term. And so I wonder if they're maybe putting less emphasis on guys being 21 so that they can be on our team for 10 years, and they're kind of just looking for more of a 1 to 2 contract kind of a deal because there's just so much turnover. I don't exactly know the philosophy. I haven't really delved into it too much, but you can hear the Packers talking about the fact that, they're thinking a little bit more short-term these days. I forget the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, instead of thinking, 4 or 5 years out, you're thinking 2 to 3 years out kind of a thing. So maybe that plays into it. I don't know. Part-time starter at Georgia, Brinson played across the defensive line in head coach Kirby Smart's hybrid front, lining up at the 4-eye tech, sliding down to nose in bear looks and aligning everywhere in between. His defense snap count increased each of the 5 seasons in Athens, and he put a steady play on tape despite a stat sheet that won't draw the eye. Brinson is fairly stout against the run and works to keep his arms locked out. That's what I was talking about. That dude just shoots his arms straight out, and he's not getting moved at that point. Arms locked out to find the ball and create stuffs. He has explosive moments when he is given the freedom to pursue the pocket, but he'll need to be better with his hands and overall rush plan to get to NFL blockers off balance. Again, I think there's potential there. Maybe not super high, sky-high ceiling, but I think this is a guy that plays one way, and he plays like a run defender. When your pass rush move is the same as your run defense move, we gotta broaden your horizons a little bit. Overall, Brinson flashes NFL-level play with his ability to get off blocks and force his way through gaps, but excitement over his talent needs to be tempered by his sporadic impact. He offers intriguing tools in an NFL-ready body. Strengths: looks like an NFL player with his height, build, and length, athletic for his size, including flexibility in his knees and ankles, plays with battle-ready hands and uses various swipe rip moves to clear a path to the pocket. He does throw people, man. Again, usually against the run, but I mean, that's always my favorite thing with defensive tackles. They don't always pan out, but when you can lock out, control the offensive lineman, so you look at the two and you kind of decide who's winning. And if the defensive tackle is seemingly in control, he's just holding you there and peeking over your shoulder, trying to figure out which way to go, and the offensive lineman is bent like a backwards C, just dying out there trying to reach you, swiping at you. And then when the runner comes, you just get thrown to the side, and that guy just comes right in that gap and tackle. I mean, that's just that just gets me all kinds of excited, and he has that kind of ability in the run game. Shows off body control and twists and games. Again, he's not a 330-pound guy. He does have some movement. Not elite, but it's there. Pays attention to gap responsibilities. His ability to quickly redirect in pursuit helps him get hands. Self-described biggest personality on Georgia roster and hosts several podcasts. Oh, snap. We got to dig into that a little bit. Weaknesses: average reaction time, not a player who will win off the ball or capture the edge consistently, plays high as a pass rusher, maybe as a pass rusher off the edge, not interior, doesn't play with power behind his hands to always control the point. Want to see him finish more, played just 3 snaps in 2024 season opener before leaving with a left ankle contusion. So kind of like I said, maybe later on they'll be a little bit more willing to deal with some injury stuff. Early on they clearly weren't. You can see they're kind of starting to find good players, because it's hard to find good players. So you can get the completely healthy guy that's maybe not as good of a player, or you take the good player and go, yeah, we'll see what happens, because it's a gamble at these later rounds. Warren Brinson, 2 younger sisters, Taylor and Caroline, was born and raised in Savannah, Georgia, with his mother, Monique. He started organized sports at age 4, spent time in Habersham YMCA throughout his childhood. He gravitated toward football, starting at the Pee Wee level, continued through Youth League. Since leaving for college, he has returned to Savannah multiple times to help run free youth football camps, including his own defensive line clinic. Brinson is also a hunter, fisherman, and amateur pilot. What is going on here? This guy sounds like a 32-year-old grown man that's already retired from football. He's running youth football clinics. He's a pilot. He's a hunter, a fish. He's going to love it up here, by the way. This guy sounds like a blast, man. I think this guy's going to be fun. Another Georgia boy, so he's going to fit right in. I'm sure he's been teammates with a lot of the guys already on this squad. Big personality, great human being. Again, that's a requirement for this entire draft class, it seems. Going back home, taking care of people. Obviously very motivated when you're in multiple things and you have multiple hobbies, including being a freaking pilot. It's a heck of a hobby. In 6th grade, he enrolled at Savannah Christian Prep School, spent 5 years there. After earning a spot on varsity as a freshman, he collected all region honors, helping the team to a 6-5 record and playoff appearance. After his sophomore season, football powerhouse IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, reached out with interest. That is that's where the best of the best of the best go. Brinson didn't take it seriously because of the cost of attending. In summer of 2018, however, his mother applied for multiple scholarships and surprised him with the opportunity to attend IMG Academy for his final 2 years of high school. How cool is that? He was teammates there with several future NFL draft picks, including DJ Turner, edge rusher Nolan Smith. As a junior in 2018, Brinson posted a bunch of stats. As a senior, he helped the team to a 9-1 record with 30 tackles, 6.5 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks. He joined the track team in the spring of his sophomore year and had personal best 38 foot 10 inches in the shot put, 86.2 in the discus. 4-star recruit. He was the 30th ranked defensive tackle in the 20 recruiting class, number 51 recruit in Florida. Had a strong performance at summer camp in Georgia in 2018. And within a few days of enrolling at IMG, received scholarship offers from head coach Kirby Smart. Brinson officially committed to the Bulldogs toward the end of his junior season, but changed his mind a few months later and reopened his recruitment. Entered offers from Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Florida, Miami, South Carolina, and others before recommitting to Georgia in 2019. Brinson was the 18th ranked recruit in Smart's 2020 class, which also included Jalen Carter, Broderick Jones, Tate Ratledge, Ladd McConkey, and Carson Beck. He took advantage of the extra year of eligibility granted by the NCAA because of COVID-19 pandemic and returned to Athens for his final season. By the way, or his 5th season. He accepted the invite to the East-West Shrine Bowl. By the way, the other thing as far as age is there's probably a lot more older players, not only because of some people going back because of COVID, but also I think with NIL, you're just having less people come out. And so you're also having probably more talented people, whereas before, if you're a premier player, you just come out as soon as you can, right? If you're anywhere projected to go in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round or whatever, you get out and you go play football. Now it's like, maybe if you're a lock 1st round pick, that was one of the critiques of Shedeur Sanders, is like this guy could have gone back to college, made $5 million a year and whatever, and now he's a 5th round pick. By the way, talked a lot of trash. Congratulations to Shedeur Sanders. I didn't really mean it to be, I guess I kind of intended it to be for Shedeur because I think it's his personality that is the problem, but I'm not actively trying to root against the guy. I don't like. I watched on ESPN after he got picked. Mel Kiper, what a freaking psycho that guy is. He's over there screaming about how this has to do with something other than this, that, or the other, and he started talking about how the NFL has proven they have no idea how to evaluate quarterback talent. We know how to do it. They don't know how to do it. It's like, what are you freaking talking about, man? Absolute psycho, but no, but it does change the dynamics. I mean, guys like this can go back to Georgia and make just a ton of money. It's weird because it's like these are like football players going back and doing that, like NFL players. You don't usually hear college players going back putting on football clinics. It's like, well, he's probably a millionaire. It's definitely an evolving game. So with COVID and NIL are pretty big. COVID obviously will eventually dissipate when that's not a factor anymore, but NIL seems to be here to stay. In fact, I just saw high school is now starting to open that in certain places, or at least they're discussing it, which is just going to cause, further ripples, I would assume. We'll see. What it means is that I need my kid to, I'm going to go upstairs and tell him to start doing some push-ups real quick, because it's like, it's this or flip burgers for, $12 an hour, kid. So let's go. Kids will be able to retire by the time they graduate college. Anyways, tell you what, let's take a break here. We'll come back and knock out the rest of the picks or pick or whatever ends up happening. We'll see. But so far, I'm feeling good about it. I like the group. Definitely noticing some changes. I think that second pass rush pick, very uncharacteristic for the Packers. A lot of this is very uncharacteristic, in my opinion. And I think it is evidence of a changing mindset, and that's good. You need to adapt as the NFL adapts, or else it passes you by and you just need to be replaced. So we shall see. We'll see how it goes. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. By the way, I forgot to check my notes to see if I had anything for Warren Brinson, and I do. Let's see. So at his pro day, weighed in at 315, let's see. Actually, it says he maintained his combine number, so the numbers are going to be from the combine. Let's see. His new testing numbers, short shuttle 4.5, second range 27 reps on the bench. Jaguars showing significant interest. Suck it. Tony Pauline, on that note about the Jaguars showing a lot of interest in Warren Brinson, says the Georgia defensive tackle figures to be chosen between the 4th and 6th rounds, so if the Jaguars really like him, they can obtain him early on day 3. Another pretty interesting pick here. With the Preston Smith pick, the Green Bay Packers selected Micah Robinson, cornerback. Similarly uncharacteristic due to his size. I think the expectation is for him to be a slot guy. I mean, it's very early. These things are fluid. We're usually wrong in predicting what the early expectation is, but that seems to be what early indication is, especially from the televisions. But I mean, I know the positional thing with being in the 7th round, you generally don't expect a ton, but man, you want to talk about just going down the line, checking the box. First of all, again, I know things change over time, and as time went on, it's, corner and this and that are our biggest needs. But if you remember at the end of the season, what did we say? Trenches. What did the Packers do through 6 rounds? Trenches and 2 receivers. They went tackle, edge, defensive tackle, and 2 receivers. And then what? Corner. Not super respected via the Beast draft guide. He's listed as an undrafted free agent. In fact, he was number 50 on here. Remember, the 7th round is kind of priority undrafted free agents, but yeah, very uncharacteristic for a lot of reasons. Again, number 50 on the big board here at 5'10", 5'11"-ish, 183. He does have 4.42 speed. His age is not listed. He did come in on a top 30 visit. I guess somebody had him down at a 4.38 40. He doesn't have anything on the Beast draft guide. He's too far down. They didn't get to that part. But looking at PFF, really had a massive breakout year. So he spent 4 years at Furman and then 1 year at Tulane. He was always pretty decent at Furman, starting in 2021 when he actually got his first start, 75, 74, and 70. His coverage grades were 78, 75, and 70. He goes to Tulane. He must be a little bit older based on how many years, but he goes to Tulane, 84 grade, 90 run defense grade, 70 tackling grade, and an 81 coverage grade. He allowed 1 touchdown, had 2 interceptions, and 4 pass breakups. In his career, 7 interceptions and 21 pass breakups, 84.7 passer rating when targeted. That's for the career. And so I think the big connection here, if I had to kind of pick one, as far as like how this fits, because again, it seems uncharacteristic from a strictly size standpoint and whatnot, and what the Packers typically do, it's that he's a ball hawk. So again, he's not in the athletic thing, so I kind of built my own here. He is from Atlanta, Georgia, went to Westlake High School. Cornerback who spent his final collegiate season at Tulane University after transferring from Furman University, where he played for 4 years. Coming out of Westlake High School in Atlanta, the same school that produced NFL cornerbacks A.J. Terrell and Adam Pac-Man Jones. Robinson was a productive defensive back who led his team with 8 interceptions over his final 2 high school seasons. After considering offers from App State and Air Force, Robinson chose Furman, where he developed into a ball hawk at FCS level before making the jump to Tulane for his final season. His connection with Tulane defensive backs assistant Rob Green, whom he knew from Green's time at Wofford, a Southern Conference rival to Furman, facilitated his transfer to the Green Wave. So at his time with Furman, 2020 to 2023, developed into a starting cornerback by his sophomore season, recorded 5 interceptions over his final 2 seasons at Furman, and 2022 saw action in all 13 games with 11 starts at corner, credited with 35 tackles, 3 picks during his time with the Paladins. Then 2024 played in 14 games for the Green Wave, recorded 2 picks, 8 passes defensed, and a forced fumble. He had a pick 6 against Charlotte, returning an interception 21 yards for a touchdown. Contributed to Tulane's aggressive turnover-focused defense under coordinator Greg Gasparato, is going to be something that the Packers want. Oh, Mr. Irrelevant time. CEO of Irrelevant Week? That can't be real. This is your full-time job? I don't know what that means. Play styles and strengths, obviously ball skills. Established himself as a ball hawk with excellent ability to track and play the ball in the air. As he puts it, quote, "When I see the ball in the air, I'd like to go get it, and that ball is usually mine when it's in the air." Robinson credits his success to film study and preparation. His understanding of offensive concepts allows him to anticipate routes and make plays on the ball. Shows good instincts and awareness in zone coverage with the ability to read the quarterback's eyes and break on throws. Again, it's a zone thing, but that's also exactly what Hafley teaches. It's from a man concept. When it's man, we obviously play a lot of zone, but even with man, there's still a concept of keeping your eye on the quarterback and getting ready to break on the ball. Solid athleticism at his pro day with a 4.42 second 40-yard dash. Again, different speeds for different stopwatches. Brings maturity and knowledge of the game from his 5 years of college experience. Known for his confident on-field demeanor and communication with his teammates. Some areas of improvement, or negatives, I guess. Size just under 5'11", 184 pounds. He lacks ideal size. While capable in press coverage, he was challenged by his coaches to press more frequently than he was accustomed to. And then most of his collegiate career was spent at an FCS level. This is an interesting note here. This is kind of funny. Robinson is projected as a potential late-round selection or priority undrafted free agent in 2025. The Green Bay Packers have shown interest hosting Robinson for a pre-draft visit. His combination of ball skills, football intelligence, and solid athletic testing could make him an attractive developmental prospect for teams looking to add depth to their secondary. Quote from Micah Robinson, "I'm a playmaker. I'm just a ball hawk. My job as a corner is to get takeaways. I'll be physical. I like to attack the point of the ball. I also like to tackle." John Sorrell, the Tulane head coach, said Micah has been really fun to watch. He makes key interceptions, and he's gaining more confidence every day. He's always had good ball skills, tracks the ball well, starting to understand the system better, and is playing with more awareness, especially when he has a clear view of the quarterback. He can see the throw, then plant and drive on the ball. Another Micah Robinson quote says, on his approach to the game, "It's everything, film study, preparation each week, every game. The staff puts us in a position to succeed. We study and watch film. I bring maturity and knowledge to the game." So, a little bit of an undersized guy. Some thought about him potentially being, obviously, a slot corner. Special teams potentially is a part of this. But, again, I think just sticking with... There's several themes that have kind of emerged. Once the draft is done, you can kind of look back and go, oh, okay. And one of them is just Packer guys. And it's a different definition of Packer guys. Usually you look at the height, weight, speed. It fits the dimensions. This seems to be more fitting the character, whether that's personal character, football character, whatever. You look at this guy and say he's too small, the Packers wouldn't get him. You look at his play style and you say this is a Hafley guy. When you look at the change in offensive line, for a long time the Green Bay Packers have looked for leaner players that are movers. They're very athletic and all that stuff. They tend to be a little bit more lean, like Zach Tom, to be fair. When they drafted Sean Ryan, you look at it and go, that doesn't fit their typical style. He's a bigger guy. Then you look at what they did in the second round, which, by the way, if we're talking themes, trenches. We'll get there in a second. What did they do in the second round? They drafted Anthony Belton, Anthony Belton is a tackle that is 6'6", 336. That is not a typical. Maybe in the 7th round or something. Yeah, they've dabbled with some monsters. Early on, though, 336, it's a little unusual. Then finally, the 7th round, the final pick for the Green Bay Packers, another offensive lineman. He's listed as a tackle. They called him a guard. Let's call him an offensive guard. John Williams, 6'4", 322 pounds. Monster. Immediate analysis here via ESPN. Williams started 27 games at left tackle. He's inconsistent, but there is some encouraging tape, and he has the tools to develop. He can steal the edge and work up to the second level on outside zone runs. He walls off defenders, gets some movement on runs between tackles. He has the length to land his punch and large enough hands to lock onto defenders as a pass blocker. He uses his size to anchor well, and he can plant his outside foot before redirecting edge rushers to try to cross their face. Okay. But if you look at this overall draft, and remember the offseason, remember that when we lost, we had a deficit of receivers. We had an offensive line that was decimated, and then we went on to watch. By the way, the pass rush was a problem for a while. Got better as the season went on, but, defensive line. And then we watched a Super Bowl where a team that dominates in the trenches embarrassed the frickin' Chiefs. Just embarrassed them. And everybody walked out of there and says, trenches, 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 trenches. We all said it. Then again, the offseason, what happens? We start forgetting that and learning new things. We need corners and receivers and flashy stuff. What did the Packers do? They never lost sight of trenches, trenches, trenches. Tackle, edge, defensive tackle, offensive line. 5 of their 8 picks went into trenches. And on top of that, when it comes to offensive line, they got bigger. When it comes to defensive line, they got smaller. They want to be able to push people out of the way, but they also need I don't want to say they got smaller because that's not necessarily true. They're still a big line, but they added the ability to beat the guys that they're adding. But they have absolute massive man movers all over this offensive line with a big, powerful running back, a couple of them, and then speed to beat you over the top. They have, again, never lost sight of the trenches thing, and then went out and got wide receivers. And then there's a bonus corner just for good measure, right? We need a little depth there. We got a little depth there. And what did they get? They go out and get a big ball hawk. Yeah, but what about I said, no, ball hawk. That's what I said. Hafley wants a guy that goes and gets the ball. That's what they drafted. Period. End of story. John Williams out of Cincinnati, by the way. Classic Green Bay Packer. It's funny because for both of these guys, Belton, you look at Belton and you say he's a giant run blocker, right? You look at John Williams and say massive run blocker. Both of them are better pass blockers. John Williams had a 66 run blocking grade at Cincinnati. That was his best year ever. 86 pass blocking. If you look at his pass blocking grades, it's, 3 years he didn't really start, but it was 80, 18, and 84. The 18 is he barely played, and then it's 75, 86. But it's like 80, 80, 80, 86, and then it's 50, 50, 60, 60, 60. His run blocking got better every year, but it's a slow climb. By the way, 23 years old. Age is not as big of an issue for the Packers this year, it seems, who are starting to think more short term. But big, giant, massive, immovable pass blocker. Now, will they start? Whatever. Is he just depth? He's a versatile piece that played tackle and can play guard, obviously. All that stuff. But they loaded up on the trenches. They refilled the depth that was desperately needed. And then they looked to the future of wide receiver, which is not looking great from the standpoint of we've got guys, but in a year or two, I don't know that we have guys. And we certainly need better guys. So, listen, I like the draft. It's uncharacteristic. It's going to be interesting to kind of wrap your head around it because everything about it feels a little different. It started off going wide receiver in the first, which is shockingly uncharacteristic. In the second round, they take a older football player who is 336-pound tackle, which is uncharacteristic. Savion Williams feels like a Packers guy. I think the only thing that seems a little bit uncharacteristic about it is the fact that he has sort of this Cordero Patterson kind of feel to him, where Packer fans always kind of like those guys, but the Packers never seem to want to get him. But I don't care about that as much. I like the fact that he's 6'4", 222 and blazing fast, and I think he's just a good receiver. And I'm hoping that's why the Packers got him and not for all this Cordero Patterson bullcrap, because those guys always suck. Always. Maybe the most Packer guy in this whole thing was Baron Sorrell. Just a straight-up good pass rusher, good PFF grades, decent production, 260, like it just, big program. It all made sense. Then they get Sorrell Oliver, 240-pound edge rusher. Never heard of that. Since Dom Capers changed over to that bigger mold, we haven't gone back since. Then you get Warren Brinson. He seems pretty legit. I mean, as far as like it's a decent thing. I mean, I don't know that the pass rush is there, but Georgia defensive tackle, whatever. So that one's up there with Sorrell as being kind of normal. Then you get Micah Robinson, who is a very undersized corner that doesn't seem to fit. And then again, John Williams. Now, on the interior, it's maybe a little bit more normal, but still, 6'4", 322. It just doesn't feel like a normal Packers pick to me. But I like it. I like the fact that they're acknowledging that the league is changing. College football is changing. The league is changing. I think what the Eagles did really shocked some people. I think the way that our season ended really, really kind of shook things up in terms of we need more offensive line depth. We need better players in certain areas. We need a different style. They're certainly really seemingly wanting to lean into just getting bigger and stronger and meaner in the trenches, and I appreciate the living heck out of that. So, I understand that there was a desire for a corner early that could come in and dominate. And by the way, can I just say, I don't know what it's going to take. Please reconcile with Jair. I know that ship has probably sailed, but listen, he holds the cards right now, right? I think there was a time where you look at it and you say, hey, if you're coming back, it's going to be at a pay cut. I think at this point, you recognize that he holds the leverage. You put your tail between your legs, similar to what you had to do with Rodgers, right? Or even, Devontae, when you kind of, shortchanged him a little bit early in the season, and then later on we're like, hey, how about I give you a massive contract? And he says, how about you shove it? Again, I have a feeling that ship has sailed, but I cannot think of a better scenario than Jair coming back. He needs to come back. Please let him come back. Find a way to reconcile this. Well, he's always hurt. I don't care. Who cares? You have the money to pay the guy. We're a better football team, significantly better when he's there. You don't know that he's going to be hurt. Again, how many times do I have to talk about Saquon Barkley? Are the Eagles stupid for bringing in Saquon Barkley? If not, then you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Saquon Barkley was never, ever, 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 ever healthy. Ever. The guy could not stay healthy to save his life. The Eagles go get him, and guess what? Perfectly healthy, dominates the league. Jair has a higher percentage chance of getting hurt. He does. I understand that. So does Christian Watson. I still want him back, and I still want to see if he can get healthy and play for us and produce for us. The bottom line is, though, we need him. We need Jair. I mean, need is a strong word. We have corners. We have almost no depth, but we have some guys that can do some stuff and can probably be fine, especially when you look at how our season ended. Our corners were not getting tore up, even with guys like Stokes on the field. They were doing just fine. Kudos to our defensive staff doing a great job, but still, I mean, it's just find a way, man. Find a way. All right, let's do our last guy. Undrafted free agents are already flying into Green Bay here, or at least one so far. But we'll cover that a little bit more tomorrow. We got a lot of more in-depth stuff to get to, but let's go through John Williams here. He is offensive tackle number 25 on this board, 6'4", 322, fifth-year senior, 23 years old. Two-year starter at Cincinnati, Williams was a steady presence at left tackle in offensive coordinator Brad Glenn's zone-based run scheme with some gap methods. He waited his turn as a reserve over his first few years on campus, but was ready for the starting job the past 2 seasons. He allowed just 3 combined sacks. At his best in pass protection, Williams quickly gets out of his stance to close space, stay balanced in a mirror, and absorb fend-off with his hands. He shows functional mobility and body control in the run game to seal the lane, but isn't a mauler, physically or mentally, and likely never will be. Overall, Williams has the footwork and pass-blocking instincts that will play well at the next level, but the main concern is about his ability to halt and move NFL defensive linemen. Some of his skills work best at tackle, others at guard. He might be caught in the middle. Strengths: wide frame, measured with largest hands at the combine. Good quickness on base blocks to create a foundation with his lower half. Shows enough pulling range to reach perimeter. Moves light on his feet in pass pro. Looks to lock out mid-slide to push rushers wide of the pocket. Works well in tandem to locate and adjust to stunts. Strong week at East-West Shrine. Started every game at left tackle the past 2 seasons. Weaknesses: shorter than some teams covet at offensive tackle. Can be late to sink and halt long arm moves. When power hands reach his chest, he can end up in the quarterback's lap, prone to catching with his big mitts. Needs to use better hip roll to generate power. Plays with a tad too much finesse. Didn't have any college snaps at 3 interior O-line positions. That is going to be a tough one, where you look at a guy and you say he's a tackle, and we think he's a guard, but he's never played guard. And look, I mean, he might be a tackle. I don't know, but the understanding is he's a guard. We'll see. John Williams, only child, grew up outside of Chicago with his parents, John and Lisa. His parents signed him up for football at age 4. Williams says it was probably too early, if we're being honest. Not sure you're allowed to do that. He also played baseball and basketball growing up, but football was his top sport. Because of his size, Williams was an offensive lineman throughout his youth football. He went to Bolingbrook High, I know that, where his teammates were cornerback Cameron Mitchell, who was a 5th-round pick in 2023. He played both tackle and guard over 3 seasons on varsity. As a senior, Williams started at right guard, helping Bolingbrook to an 8-4 finish. Went to the quarterfinals in the 2019 Class 8A state playoffs. Didn't play any other sports in high school aside from football and weightlifting. 3-star recruit, Williams was 132nd ranked offensive tackle in the 2020 recruiting class, number 31 recruit in Illinois. In the spring of 2018, he picked up his first scholarship offer from Cincinnati and Luke Fickell. Soon after, he added offers from Big Ten Purdue, Big 12 Kansas State. Williams also had an offer from nearby Northern Illinois, but he was drawn to the Bearcats coaching staff and committed in April 2019. He was a 16th ranked recruit in Fickell's 2020 class. He is an aerospace engineering major. There's that IQ factor. Williams accepted his invitation to the East-West Shrine Bowl. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I got to go do Packernet After Dark. Probably be talking about day 2 still. I don't know. Tomorrow, obviously, we got to do some undrafted free agent stuff. We got to dig into a lot more stuff. There was a ton of interviews done by the players. There were interviews done by Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst and all that stuff. So we got to go back and do a lot of cleanup here. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get to know these guys. I'm excited to find out who's going to work out and who's not. You never know. And we'll see what's going on. Again, aside from questions at corner depth and possibly, the top-end talent there, feeling pretty excited about the potential, especially on the offense. You look at the additions on the offensive line, which maybe are just depth. I would assume a second-round pick has the intention of being a starter. But then, of course, the wide receivers being the biggest thing and getting the defense kind of squared away, especially with our new defensive line coach. There was a question or a comment about that. The defensive tackle that we picked up, they asked if he had met with anybody outside of like a Zoom visit or whatever, and I forget exactly how that all played out, but he talked about how he had met with the Packers' new defensive line coach and whatnot. And or actually, I think it was the defensive line coach for the Packers, the guy that we just hired, who was the DC for New England, I believe, last year. He was making calls to his agent, like, hey, so what's up with your boy over there? So that was kind of what tipped him off. But excited to see what our new defensive line coach has planned for us, what the Halfley has planned for this defense in year 2, watching those guys take a step, and then hopefully watching this offense really just turn a corner and do some special stuff here. Very excited about Matthew Golden, very excited about Savion Williams, and obviously Jordan Love. So I'll leave you guys with that. It's been a fun one. There's a much more relaxed draft for me this year, not doing the live stream, just kind of kick back and take it easy. But I appreciate everybody hanging out and having a good time, and we got a lot of work to do kind of exploring these guys a little bit. So we'll take a break. I'm going to get out of here. I'll talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.